What's up, everybody? Welcome to Inside the Game, your one source for everything cool in video games. Now, you can always be a part of the show by checking out our Discord, where there you can submit your clip, or head to insidethegame.ca. There you can submit your clip as well and end off our show. Now, we have an awesome episode this week. The guys and I are discussing Bethesda, now owned by Xbox. That's a big move by Microsoft, there's no doubt about that. And well, if you're looking for the next hockey game, we've got an interview that you're going to want to stick around for with NHL 21. But before we get started, here it is. It's the Inside Scoop.
So over recent weeks, there's been claims online that over 500,000 Activision Call of Duty accounts have been hacked. Well, this kind of threw the whole Call of Duty population in a bit of an uproar because people were starting to freak out if their accounts were hacked. No one really knew if this was true or not. Well, Activision's come out officially on Twitter to kind of shed some light on this topic. They've stated that while they do encourage everybody that holds an account with them to have two-factor authentication and other things like that, strong passwords, there has not been a breach. So all those 500,000 accounts that people have been saying have been breached have not been. So everybody can breathe easy now, and it's nice to know that Activision is going to stay on top of this. But it's also a little concerning that something, that was really just a little bit of a fib kind of blew up like this, to the point where Activision actually had to have an official Twitter statement put out there to let the community know that they have not had any security breaches whatsoever. So that being said, even though they didn't have a breach, it's probably always good to make sure that you're kind of always resetting those passwords or any kind of two-factor authentication available. You should really be using it because you always want to keep your accounts protected.
So this one's for Drew, but the creators of Dishonored and Prey, Arcane Studios, they are hiring for a number of positions for a new AAA title. What does this mean? Will we get a Dishonored spinoff? Will this be a completely brand new IP? Will we get Prey 2? Oh, I don't really know, but all these job listings makes me believe that we're going to get something, and it's going to be great, because if you have never played any of those titles I've mentioned previously, you have to check them out. They're amazing games, and this studio is great. So the fact that they're hiring some new hands gives me more promise to see, what they have in store.
So Microsoft and Xbox have come up with some pretty cool information on a new controller color variant that we're going to be getting. It's called Shock Blue. So we know previously we've gotten the black original controller and the white controller for the Series S. And we're getting this cool new Shock Blue color, which I think looks really sharp. The front of the controller is the new blue color. The shoulder and bumper buttons are black, and the back of the controller is white. So overall, it actually looks pretty slick. But they've also released a little bit more information that we're going to be getting a new accessory as well, a USB-C rechargeable battery pack. And that's actually going to be coming in at under $30 retail, which I think is a super good idea, because if anybody knows, those long gaming sessions just destroy those AA batteries. So the sooner you can get your hands on a rechargeable battery pack, the better. So it's nice that Microsoft's offering one, especially with the new USB-C cable. But again, back to the controllers. If you don't love the colors, in 2021, the new retooled Xbox Design Labs will be available with the new controllers and a bunch of new color variants. So if you can hold on for a little while, you'll be able to get that custom controller you're looking for.
Well, it's been a big day in the world of video games, and we're talking about Xbox and who they just purchased. They just bought Zenimax, a massive rights to some of the biggest games in the world, along with Bethesda. So Zenimax, being the parent company to Bethesda, comes with a host of studios and, of course, a wealth of titles. What's that mean for the future of Xbox? Well, things are looking pretty bright. Phil Spencer commented over on the Xbox Newswire he'd like to welcome the talented teams and beloved game franchises of Bethesda to Xbox. Critically acclaimed creators of The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Wolfenstein, Doom, Dishonored, Quake, Starfield, and more just joined the team of Xbox. Today is a special day as we welcome some of the most accomplished studios in the games industry to Xbox. We are thrilled to announce Microsoft has entered into an agreement to acquire Zenimax Media, parent company of Bethesda Softworks. But what's that mean for certain games that are already exclusive to PlayStation? Like I'm talking about Deathloop, Ghostwire Tokyo. Those games are already exclusive coming to the PlayStation 5. And Phil Spencer said he'll hold the rights to that and allow them to be there. But moving forward, well, some Bethesda titles might just stay on the Xbox. Starfield probably being one of those. And of course, I would guess, you got it, Elder Scrolls' next title was probably going to be an exclusive to Xbox and PC only. I can't see them bringing it to the PlayStation 5, and if you want to play those titles, now there's your reason to either own a PC or the next Xbox. The last time we saw a purchase this large out of Microsoft actually was at a fraction of the cost. It was $2.5 billion, and that came with the purchase of Mojang and Minecraft. Now we've seen that continue on the PlayStation and other platforms, but moving forward, with the purchase of $7.5 billion with ZeniMax, that might just stay exclusive to the Xbox family and platform on PC. What's the future hold for others? Well, it's actually by a case-by-case basis. So yeah, Starfield and the next Elder Scrolls, I wouldn't count on those being on PlayStation. However, the biggest question is, what do you all do now? Are you going for Xbox with this major announcement? Or are you still picking up your PS5? Or are you getting both? And maybe, just maybe, I can get another Dishonored game.
Well, I'm here again with another remake, and an amazing one at that. Yep, Super Mario 3D All-Stars.
It's me, Mario!
So it is the trend of 2020 to be doing remakes, and like I've said many times, some are good, some aren't so good, but here we are with an absolute gem. We're talking about three of some of the most iconic Mario titles of all time. We got a remake of Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. So starting things off, I think this is pretty cool because this kind of takes me back to the 90s when Super Mario All-Stars came to the Super Nintendo, and it was great because you could play the old Nintendo games on your Super Nintendo as well as Super Mario World. So getting a remaster of these three games is absolutely a must-have. Now, I'm not going to give you a thorough review of each of the games because this is all in all a wicked package. I got my hands on all three of the games for a number of hours, and I could say that my time through was almost perfect. I had really no issues, only a couple issues that I'll mention a little bit later, but nothing detrimental. The game is almost a perfect remaster. Of course, I first off had to start with Super Mario 64, one of my first and favorite Mario games. First Mario game that I really dove into anyway. But getting my hands on it, it was all the same twerks and funny kinks that we remember from the 90s. I think they did it perfectly. The camera angles are all still there. The controls are perfectly welded to the Switch. I think it is great. Now, one thing that I did say that I kind of had an issue with is that you can't actually invert your camera at any point. In all three of the games, you cannot do it. Now, in Super Mario 64, this isn't as much of an issue because you're only really aiming with the camera and a little bit of first-person perspective. But when it comes to Super Mario Sunshine and a little bit of Galaxy, there's a lot of times where you're kind of set on aiming. And for me, I know I'm a very rare entity, but I play inverted, so this is actually really frustrating. Super Mario 64, and I mean the N64 was kind of built on that inverted setting way back in the day, and that's kind of where I learned from it a bit. So it's a little bit cheeky to not see that in the game, but I know I'm kind of alone on this. And I must say, if there's one other thing that I can complain about, and it's really not a super big deal, but in Super Mario Galaxy, you are at 60 frames per second the entire game, but in the first two, you only get 30 frames per second. Now, like I said, this doesn't completely alter your experience, but when you hop on Super Mario Galaxy, you really notice the difference, and I found it really added to the experience. Now, those couple things aside, this experience is a must grab. If you're a fan of these games, or a new fan to Mario, you absolutely need to play these games. These are some of the staples of gaming from back in the day, and playing them now, they're absolutely just as much fun. So, if I was going to score this game, it's kind of tricky because I'm that inverted player, and the 30 frames per second on the first two games could have, was a little bit of a misstep, but I'm going to have to give this one still an 8.5. This game is a must grab. If you're a new or returning fan, you have to play this game for the Switch. Super Mario 3D All-Stars is a must grab for all fans. Even if you're not a fan of Mario, this will absolutely hook you.
All right, everybody, I'm here with Will, who's the creative director over at EA Vancouver, and we're talking about the latest NHL 21. Will, what's new and exciting this year for the latest in hockey?
Hi, how you doing? Yeah, so much to talk about in NHL 21, but really the big marquee new feature is for those fans who love the fantasy of being on an NHL team and following your career and trying to go for the Stanley Cup, Be a Pro is getting a massive revamp this year. So all the fans who have been asking us over the years for more story beats and more RPG mechanics, more depth, more just more things that immerse you in your NHL career, we're delivering that this year. So you'll have cutscenes, you'll have conversations with your GM, your coach, your teammates. You'll be trying to impress scouts to try to be picked number one on draft day. You'll have more commentary than ever before. Not only our in-game commentary with James Cebulski and Ray Ferraro, but a new talk radio show in the front end that directly speaks to your performance. Are you living up to expectations? Are you breaking promises? How well are you doing in your career?
That sounds incredible, Will. It does sound like the fans have been looking for this for a very long time. We've seen that game mode in other games like the NBA series, so it's nice to see that come over to the NHL. What's that like when you're trying to figure out all the backlog to designing those mechanics and going from last year's Be a Pro mode to this year? What was that conflict, and how did you maneuver around last year's mode to make it so much better this year?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we listen to fan requests all the time, and so we've been hearing that people have wanted, a lot of additions to Be a Pro, right? They want to be, immersed in a story, right? And they want to see their avatar interacting with their teammates, interacting with their coach, interacting with their GM. They want choices that matter, right? I think a lot of people have been bringing their own sort of motivation, their own internal storytelling to Be a Pro, but now those story beats are unfolding on the screen, right? So, depending on your situation, you'll be presented with a story beat in a conversation, right? Are you in the running for Rookie of the Year? Are you about to near a milestone or breaking a team record? Are you trying to help your team clinch that playoff spot to get into the playoffs? Right? All of these story beats are reflected on screen so that you see them, and you make promises of performance on the ice. Right? Are you going to, score 3 points? Are you going to record a shutout as goalie? Right? So all of these choices and all these promises matter, and they help you progress through the game, which help you get upgrades. We've got salary perks, so that when you get your bank, when you get endorsements and you get your bank, you can buy these things like, oh, I'm going to hire a personal trainer, or I'm going to hire a community manager, right? Or I'm going to buy this hot car, and buying all of these things gives you different attribute boosts, and also it affects your relationships with all these other people in your life. So there's just all these dynamics that we've added to Be a Pro that really make it feel like you are living the life of an NHL player.
That sounds like it could be its own game within itself, Will, but there are other game modes as well. What changes are you making to those game modes, bringing it into 21?
Yeah, glad you asked, Drew. So, for a lot of our fans of HUT, they've been asking for more variety. Right? So the people who play Hockey Ultimate Team, they're used to playing, 5-on-5 competitive style, more of a simulation style. And it's highly, highly competitive. But then you've been asking for other experiences like, hey, what if we had 3v3 in HUT, right? Or what if we had threes and could play with mascots in an arcade-inspired mode? So we have a new mode called HUT Rush, which presents you with new scenarios that are very, very quick. They're short and sharp, playable in under 5 minutes. So if you're used to playing 30 or 40 minutes in a full-on, 3-period match in HUT, well, HUT Rush matches are generally under 5 minutes. You can play against the CPU, you can play against other players online, but they're all about style. They're not just about winning, they're about scoring goals with style, recording points, just like you see in a trick-based game, right? Like something like skates, or even in Need for Speed, right? You see counters and multipliers when you chain skills, and then you're trying to amass the most points for the most skilled and stylish moves and combos when you score goals. And those points lead you to unlocking bonus HUT items. So that's a very new experience that we're adding to Hockey Ultimate Team.
That sounds great. Now, this year, Will, of all years, has definitely been a challenging one. With COVID upon us and all that stuff, what challenges have you guys faced designing NHL this year, and how'd you overcome those?
Yeah, I think there isn't anyone who hasn't been affected by the COVID-19 situation, but something that our team was able to pivot on was when we were facing a work from home situation was people rallied around that. They embraced the situation. Our teams and all of our support teams at EA Vancouver really supported us in getting everyone set up at home, making sure that we had lines of communication going, making sure that people were comfortable in their homes, right? And people felt supported that, hey, if you've got, kids to take care of, if you got to do homeschooling, you've got to do all those things. We really took care of our people very, very well to make sure that they were comfortable working from home and that people could collaborate in ways very similar to the way that we collaborate when we're in the studio. And so, I think, there was, I'm sure you would agree, in your world, Drew, it was a shock when everyone had to all of a sudden be in their living rooms or be in their kitchens. But I'm really happy the way that our team rallied around that. And it actually didn't impact our ultimate schedule that much. We're coming out October 16th, which is a little bit later than usual. But we're really happy that we're able to get all the features, all the new modes, all the new gameplay moves in the game that we plan to do.
When the game is finally released on October 18th, or 16th, sorry, the game actually is not that far away from seeing the new console releases as well. How does that play into effect this year when you're designing the NHL's latest upcoming game?
Yeah, so we always want to meet our players where they are, right? And so, even though new consoles are coming out, later this year, most of our players are going to be on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And so we really want to focus on those two consoles first to make sure that all of our users are benefiting from all the hard work from our team. And that, we will have plans for, the next generation consoles, but right now we're really super focused on Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
That's fair. I see Ovi is back. He was originally on the cover athlete for 2007, I believe it was. All these years later, why him? And what's the process when picking your cover athlete every year?
Yeah, I think it really speaks to Ovechkin, as being one of those players who is unparalleled in terms of skill, his accomplishments, and his personality and creativity and flair. And I think, those qualities are really what attracted us to Alexander Ovechkin, he isn't just a cover athlete for NHL 21. He's also a bit of an inspiration for all of our different modes, right? So, for you to go into be a pro, let's say, and try to win the Calder Trophy just like he did, right? And work your way to the Stanley Cup Championship, right? And hoisting the Stanley Cup finally after 13 years, right? But then also, his creativity, right? In the early years, he was scoring goals, right? Like the goal, right? in Phoenix, right? Like he was, he had the athletic skill and the vision and the sheer ability, right, to score those types of goals, which opened the door to other players scoring stylish goals. And so we reflected that in Hut Rush. And then also he's inspired this new generation of young superstars to try goals that were previously just reserved for the practice rink, right? So we've got new moves like the Michigan, right? Svechnikov scoring using the wraparound right from behind the net, not once but twice this year, right? And Philip Forsberg doing the same thing, right? We've got Kachuk's between the legs shot. We've got Kucherov's no move, right? That non-shot fake.
Yeah.
So these are moves that previously you'd say, were unthinkable in the NHL. But then because of Ovechkin, it's opened the door for all of these younger players to attempt these moves, not only in practice, but in game situations. And we're letting NHL 21 players use those same moves.
Now, every year we get a new hockey game. We get another NHL for the series. How do you keep everything so fresh, not only for the fans, but for you as the developers as well?
Yeah, I think it really speaks to the passion of our team. Right, like we're in Vancouver here. We're in a hockey hotbed.
Yeah.
I'm going to dare to say as big as Toronto
in
terms of hockey passion, and so we do benefit from people really bringing their love of the game and of the sport and of the games made of the sport. Right, we have people who have grown up with the NHL franchise all the way back to the early '90s.
Yeah.
Right, and so I think I'll speak from a very personal point of view, Drew, and that is. Having grown up on those 16-bit games and through NHL through the years, now it's kind of a privilege for me to pay that forward, right? And to find new ways to surprise people, right? The way that we were surprised way back then of like how fun a hockey video game could be. Yep. And that, seeing people who got into hockey because of EA Sports NHL, right? We always want to, bring, pay that forward to new generations of people who realize, hey, hockey is a great sport and a great game. And so we're always chasing that. We're going like, how can we attract, fans who are new to EA Sports NHL, new to hockey in general, and people who may have had those memories of playing the sport or watching the sport before? How can we bring them back, right, with new modes and bring, answering their requests, right, listening to their feedback, listening to their wishes, and trying to cater to that every single year.
Nice. Is there a favorite part of the game this year for you personally?
Yeah, I'm Be a Pro is really dear to me because I love those single player campaign modes. I love being able to tell my own stories. I love the tension of me making a big promise or making a small promise, right? Do I take a risk with a bigger payoff, right? I mean, so many games, right? You look at any RPGs, you look at any game where they present compelling choices, right? And then you've got to rise to that occasion. Right? I love those moments in single player campaigns, right? Whether they're in sports games or they're in action games or platformers, right? So I think Be a Pro has been a real labor of love for our team this year.
Yeah. I have one other question for you. As Ovi will be on the cover this year, do you believe in the traditional curse for the players?
I do not. I think you can be. You can choose to see what you want to see. That certain players may have had off years, on certain years when they've been on the cover. But I mean, you can also point to other players who have had great years, right, and continued great careers, after having been our cover athlete. And so, we prefer not to be selective about that. We always want the cover athlete to be that representative for us, right? That the qualities that make that player great. Also cascade onto what makes the game great for that year. And so this year we feel that Ovi, we just feel he is the perfect athlete to represent what's in NHL 21.
That's awesome. Will, is there anything else you'd like to say about NHL 21 before we go?
Yeah, I think, we are coming a little bit, just a tiny bit later than usual. It's October 16th, but, do come check us out this year. I think, if you've been waiting for a big upgrade to Be a Pro, this is your year to come back, right? If you want a new experience in Huts, this is your year. And there are other things that I haven't mentioned, like World of Chell. The people who are into EA Sports Hockey League. We've got these new club finals where in 6 different seasons during the year, one team, one club in each division is going to win a banner that you can hang in your club arena. So it's just like you winning the championship, right? Just like you, being like Ovi, looking up to the rafters and seeing that banner that you've dreamed of winning all your life. And so we're bringing so much to everyone's favorite mode this year, and I hope you check it out October 16th.
Awesome, Will. Thank you so much, everybody. That was Will from EA Vancouver, and look forward to NHL 21.
All right, Adam, this week we're harnessing the power of the seasons in RE Secret of Seasons.
Dad's winter crystal?
All right, this week, Adam, we got to check out a pretty cool kind of platformer, action, adventure, 3D, top-down. I'm gonna call it, Zelda-style game. Like this was a pretty cool game, RE and the Secret of Seasons, and we got a pretty kind of interesting one here because the way the game mechanics kind of work is that there's a group of seasons that we kind of run through here. The seasons we're used to. Spring, summer, fall, winter, all those, and we have these abilities that kind of go along with each season that we kind of use to solve puzzles along the way here. I mean, I'm not going to get into too much crazy detail yet, but it's a very interesting approach to this style of game because I've never even heard of this game, and it's on all platforms. It's on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and even Nintendo Switch. And I can see how this game works really well on all those platforms because of the style of game it is. What did you think jumping into this one?
Initially, I thought it was a pretty fun game. When jumping in, it definitely had that Zelda feel. You don't start with all those abilities, right? You gotta complete dungeons to get your winter ability or your summer ability or your autumn ability, and then that helps you progress through the game. So that's definitely fun. It was a fun game for sure. The puzzles are pretty challenging. There's a ton of missions you can do in every spot you go to. So yeah, those are some of the good things I liked about it. Yeah, so obviously you're Ari, and you've taken it upon yourself to replace your dad at the Council of the Seasons. And your brother's gone missing a couple weeks ago, so your dad's too distraught to go, and he's one of the leaders of the council. So that's just the start of your adventure in this one.
Yeah, so basically what happens is Ari's tasked with going to this Council of the Seasons, but on the way there she has to complete a bunch of quests, and this kind of really introduces you to how the mechanics and kind of quests in this game work as you kind of venture from home to this Council of the Seasons. So you take your father's orb, or crystal, they call it, like winter crystal, and that allows you to start kind of uncovering how some of the puzzles work in this game. So with the winter crystal, you may be able to freeze over a lake and create a bridge to get to an island where you then maybe move to another position from there. Or you make platforms in the sky by lighting up these special orbs that are kind of marked on the map. And as you get, kind of progress through, you start to use the different seasons to achieve, different things. So we get into one town that is completely taken over by snow, and we have this summer season that allows us to, maybe when we talk to this person and they're freezing in the snow, you actually won't get any information until you use your ability and kind of warm them up, and then they'll talk to you and you can progress in certain missions. So there's a bit of variety, but what I notice is when we go from town to town, we start kind of getting the same types of quests. We're not getting a whole ton of variety when it comes to what we're doing. It's a lot of retrieve and return style quests. So it would be nice to see maybe a little more variety there, because as we travel from town to town, it's not as populated necessarily as I would want. I mean, we have enemy NPCs kind of scattered around the map, but we don't even have to fight them if we don't want to, because there's really no advantage. I mean, other than brushing up your combat skills, you don't necessarily have to fight them because you're not necessarily retrieving anything from them. You could just run by them and continue on with the story. So that, to me, that just seems like, well, it seems a bit like a bit of a waste. So that took a bit of a hit there.
Yeah, definitely. Like the guys don't even drop health when you kill them half the time, you know, or coins that you can purchase more costumes. It would have been nice to see some of that, or even, you know, an XP element where you can upgrade your stuff instead of just using the coins. So yeah, I definitely know what you mean by that. And yeah, you can't just sneak your way through everybody. Every once in a while, you know, they're in front of a door, you're gonna have to fight them. And the combat definitely is pretty fun. I like the way they did the combat in this. It's pretty fluid. The enemies I did find, I don't know if you found this, I found the enemies pretty easy to kill, you know, like 1, 2, they're pretty much done. I didn't die from the enemies too often. So when you get into the dungeons and in and around the environments, there are a lot of puzzles where you have to use, you know, the elements you've acquired. And the puzzles I did find, you know, challenging and fun. They're not short. Some of the missions tend to be really short, but the puzzles I found were, you know, pretty complete and pretty intuitive. And then, you know, you get into that big boss battle and you start fighting them. You definitely start to see some of the issues then.
Yeah, and you know what, we do talk about issues here because the devs have come out and put kind of an announcement out on all platforms that they do know that there are some graphical glitches and gameplay issues in this game, and they're working hard to clear a lot of them up. They have cleared a few up to this date, and they are working on another large update to hopefully kind of clear up some of the other major issues that we're seeing in this game, because right now we're playing on Xbox, and I know there's been some major issues on PS4. Xbox's issues have seemed to just stick with more graphical, and you do notice that there's a lot of clipping. Like you said, in the boss battles, you find yourself every once in a while when you're fighting the boss, you are completely inside the boss's model, and it's like, okay, this is the camera angles start to get a little wonky on you at that point, and it becomes a little more difficult, right? And it's a bit of a hindrance to kind of complete the missions that you're on and things like that. Like I noticed, you know, there's an area, like I said, it's covered in snow, and then I use the summer ability and it turns into a beach, but as I start moving around, depending on which way I'm looking, the land goes from beach to snow, beach to snow, beach to snow. Like it's not necessarily as smooth as you want it to be, right? So but again, like I said, they're working on it, so it's good that they're taking community involvement here and trying to improve some of the issues that they have in the game. But again, the longer these issues stick around, the harder it is going to be for people to want to stick around in this game. So hopefully they can get this done quickly enough that everybody can kind of just keep enjoying their adventure in this one. So Adam, our time in the seasons has been pretty good. You know, we've had some hot days, we've had some cold days. If we got to score this one, what are you going to give it?
I'm definitely thinking a 7 out of 10 from me.
All right, man. You know what? I'm right there with you. I think there's a really good game at its core here, and they're working on some of the issues we have. I think graphically this game looks really good for the adventure you're playing through. I thought the voice acting was done really, really well. It's comical at times. You know what? Overall, I think it's a game you can have a good time. Hopefully they can get these bugs fixed and everybody can enjoy themselves, because I'm right there with a 7 as well. Ari is a great action-adventure story with amusing characters and really good combat mechanics, but the graphical hang-ups and camera issues make it tough to continue at times.
Well, boys, it is a massive week in our world. We're talking about one of the biggest purchases of all time. We're talking about Xbox coming in and scooping up Zenimax, the parent company to what we know all of as Bethesda. Nate, I think you probably are our biggest Bethesda fan. Now, with this acquisition comes, like, dude, like, this honestly is such a huge move. The last big purchase I think that Microsoft made was when they got Mojang for $2.5 billion, but that is a slice of a little corner of the pie compared to this purchase of $7.5 billion when it comes to getting Zenimax. And honestly, some of the biggest titles out there now are all owned in the world of Xbox. Nate, how excited were you when you heard this? Honestly, at this point, this could be just a whole episode on its own, but we're gonna make it small for this little segment here. But we're gonna try. We're gonna try to keep Nate a little portion of it here. How is it, Nate?
Well,
how were you feeling,
buddy?
Mean,
it was obviously really exciting. There are just a ton of contributing factors of why this is exciting. I mean, starting things off, all Bethesda games. Day one on Game Pass. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, this isn't all happening yet. I think it's sometime next year when it's all going to be finalized. But
for sure.
Whatever, we know that it's happening. So this is just crazy. But that, on top of all of these games being day one, we get their entire library of games.
Yep.
And from what it sounds like in some of the quotes I've heard, is that Xbox and PC will probably be getting both titles. About 99% of the time, like 100% of the time, it's going to be on both. Now, unfortunately for PS5 and Switch, well, it says on a game-to-game basis.
Right.
So, what does that mean, guys? Does that mean that Starfield's going to be an Xbox exclusive? Or is it going to be, is Fallout... there's just Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and Starfield. Those three alone are just huge titles that have been everywhere. And I just wonder how they're going to approach it. Is it going to be a timed exclusive? I honestly, I hope that everyone can play the game, and they're really making that accessible. But I don't know. I think they really need to make it exclusive to PC and Xbox just to kind of have those heavy hitters like PlayStation. They've for the last generation, really struck it home with all their games. And Xbox has had a few really good ones, but a few, mishaps.
Not so much.
I think they need this. But Corey, what do you think? Sorry, I'm trying to.
No, man. Trust me, I'm right there with you. The excitement's there, right? This is such a huge kind of merger and kind of huge purchase for Microsoft, and couldn't be happening at a more, I'm going to say, calculated time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we've had lots of conversations leading up to this about the next gen consoles and where we're going to be and how they're different from each other, right? Well, this is the next massive step Microsoft and Xbox are taking to kind of push away from Sony, or at least offer us something that Sony's been doing for a long time and doing it well. Now they're kind of rubbing it in their face, being like, well, guess what? We've got this huge library that we're just going to make available to everybody on the platforms, but also everything to come from these new studios, right? We're going to be getting some of the best games coming to Xbox, and it's just a matter of, like you guys said, what's going to be exclusive to the platform and what's not going to be. But the fact that Microsoft owns them makes me think that we're going to be getting some titles that maybe those PlayStation guys aren't going to be able to get on Xbox, at least right away.
Yeah, 100% timed. It has to be timed. And then, but honestly, this is my speculation. I think that PlayStation will get some of these smaller games. Maybe we'll get Rage 3 or the Wolfenstein, which isn't small by any means.
It's not,
but I think that Doom, and then maybe I definitely think Starfield is going to be an Xbox exclusive. The Elder Scrolls and Fallout, well, who knows? I can't even speculate on that. That's just ridiculous. We'll have to wait. But let's something that I found that is very interesting. $7.5 billion. That is a ridiculous amount of money. The second biggest transaction in gaming history, next to Supercell, the creators of Clash of Clans. Yeah. But anyways, it sounds like an insane amount of money. But when you start breaking down some Xbox's numbers, you're looking at some also insane numbers. They have hit recently 15 million subs on Game Pass, and that jumped from 10 to 15 within a 6-month period. So I mean, they're climbing, and with the next gens around the corner and all this stuff, they're gonna climb even more. So I did some basic math. $18 times 15 million. We're at $270 million a month that these guys are banking. So 7.5 billion, whatever. That's a year, maybe two that they're sweating out, and not even, because like I said, that's at 15 million. That's the bare minimum. There's more than that subs right now. So Adam, what do you think about this?
It's exciting. Admittedly, I haven't played too many of those games like Fallout and Skyrim and that, but hey, now it's all included on Game Pass. I'll definitely be checking more of them out, especially the newer ones coming out. So yeah, it's exciting news.
I think the biggest thing, honestly, moving forward, Xbox has always, for this gen, been really kind of gearing towards, I would say the latter half of this year, gearing towards the fact that they just want to be out there for the gamer and to be everywhere. They play nice with, Nintendo, and they're even a little bit with PlayStation going, yeah, you know what? We bought Mojang for $2.5 million, but you can still keep Minecraft over there. And that's
and
still
get Minecraft dungeons.
Well, exactly, right? So that's what I mean. So Microsoft's still playing nice. Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo are still coming exclusive to PlayStation. Now, that was already a deal done with Bethesda. So for Microsoft to kind of come in and swoop that out of the mix would have been, I think, a couple headaches in there for sure, right? So, Phil says, yeah, that's cool. They can stay there for now. But I bet you, again, that's going to be timed. They're going to eventually make...
They said it's time, so...
So they're going to be making their way to the Xbox. But all in all, I don't even think... You don't even think of... Moving forward, I don't think of Xbox. You kind of think more of Game Pass, right?
Yeah.
It's more of them focusing on their service. They want to be Netflix for video games. They don't care about the console because you don't need the console to play an Xbox game anymore. You have a PC? Great, get Game Pass. Now you have Xbox. So you don't need a console, right? You don't need Xbox Series X. You don't need the Xbox Series S. You don't need an Xbox One if you have a computer, because Xbox is willing to play. Where Sony's not so much willing to play. And if you want to play Spider-Man, you want to play God of War, you want to play the next Horizon Zero Dawn, there's one place and one place only you're going to play that. So then you get into Marvel's Avengers. Well, okay, great. That game, everywhere right now, right? But if you want to play Spider-Man when the DLC drops, there's only one place you're getting that. And that's kind of where Xbox is coming in and going, now we got all the chips when it comes to the Western RPGs. And it's kind of up to them whether or not they want to play nice still. But at the same time, Nate, how long have we been looking for? Where is the exclusives for the Xbox? Why do we want to be on the Xbox platform when everything comes everywhere? And when you go to PlayStation, they have Spider-Man, they have God of War. Where is our Fables? Fable's coming, right? We saw the trailer coming for Fable, but that is years out. There's no way that's coming out near launch. That would be a miracle, but it's not happening, right? So now moving forward, here's Xbox buying up another studio. It's not just one studio, because with the studio comes Machine Games, comes id Software, comes Arcane. Like, dude, give me another Dishonored. I don't care if you want to put it on PlayStation. Just give me another Dishonored, right? So
Yeah.
but at the same time, this purchase just kind of, I think, made PlayStation go, oh crap.
Well, like, Xbox is, they were kind of a meme back in the day, with this whole game subscription service trying to be Netflix.
Sure.
And everyone thought it was ridiculous. But now it's like, it's so much more accessible. That's what Xbox wants you to do. They want you to be able to play this anywhere and everywhere on your Xbox, on your phone now, with xCloud Gaming being available through Game Pass. And they even said, I watched a video with Phil Spencer. He said that they're still working on Apple. So they said money's not the issue because they were asked that. So I mean, it's just a time thing with their whatever. But that all being said, it's all about accessibility, man. And a lot of people, man, even myself included, I can't afford a lot of these games, especially when there's like November when there's like 2 or 3 coming out at the same time. Now with games $100 Canadian after tax, I mean, you just pay $20 a month. And then you get to try everything, and whether you like it or not, you just uninstall it, right?
I'm not a Fallout guy, right? But so I got Fallout on PlayStation, and I'm like, man, there goes that money, because I didn't really care for it personally. And then from there, if you're on Xbox now moving forward because of Game Pass, you can just pick it up. But if you're on the PlayStation, that's $100 you're dropping, and if you don't like it like I didn't, you're losing out.
Yeah, I want to add one quick thing, because I think this actually is as good of a move as it is for Microsoft and Xbox. I think it's almost an even better move for Bethesda, because we just talked about it. The Game Pass platform is so good. We just did a 24-hour live stream, and 20 of those games were off Game Pass almost. Like, there's so many good titles on Game Pass. Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to be able to put all your games on that platform? But also, with the next-gen consoles coming out, we're going to have a console in the Xbox Series S that is more affordable than any other next-gen console available. So that means you're going to be getting that platform in Game Pass Ultimate when you get your Xbox Live and your Xbox Game Pass bundled together with your new cheap Xbox Series S console, and you get all these Bethesda title games. I mean, I'm just saying, I think it's a smart move for them to be able to move to that platform and kind of expose themselves to even more people playing.
Yeah, man. And like they date back to even the original Xbox. I mean, you guys probably didn't know this, but Bethesda and Microsoft, they teamed together to bring Morrowind to Xbox, which was the first real massive RPG. Because that game, like, dude, I played as a kid, it was way above me, but it was huge. So, you know, like, just watching these interviews with these different guys, they really, with like Todd Howard and Phil Spencer, it's just really, you can see that this was just the right move. And one thing I have to throw in there, because I'm a Fallout fan, is that we have In Exile Entertainment, Obsidian Entertainment, and Bethesda all working together. Let's make Fallout New Vegas 2. It's happening. The best part was, you have to show this true, is that they actually tweeted, because someone was like, hey, is this gonna happen? And Obsidian Entertainment put up a guy like this.
It's like,
it's gonna happen. Because it's happening. It's going to happen.
Well,
it'll be a few years away. But.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on it tomorrow. That's for sure.
No,
but I think honestly,
the biggest, too much good news, man. Too much good news.
I think that the biggest question though moving forward is, what games do Microsoft allow to branch out, and what games do they hold back to say they want the exclusives? Because you know what, there has to be a reason why you want to purchase the Xbox. What brings you to the Xbox? And that's what I said right off the hop, though. It's not really Xbox, it's Game Pass. That's what's bringing people to the Xbox now at this point, right? They are that service. But at the same time, people, they like to do the console war crap, and my console's better than yours. Now, whatever. It does. Personally, for me, I don't really care. I just want to play games. It doesn't matter where I am. But if you have one console, you like to root for that console, right? So when Sony has all these huge hitting numbers with, Spider-Man getting 9s, 10s, God of War getting 10s, Horizon Zero Dawn. You know what I mean? The Last of Us Part 2. Goes on, man. Like, absolutely, that's the problem, right? Sony's like, boom, 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 one hit after another, where Xbox is like, well, here's a good one, and then here's a crappy one, and here's a good one, and then here's another whatever one. And then, so now that they have this, do you keep the next Skyrim for Xbox and Xbox only, Nate? Or do you allow that to go to PlayStation?
Honestly, I think since Elder Scrolls 6 is so far away, I think that Starfield coming out first, I think they need to make that exclusive to kind of make a point.
Yeah. And
because, that's what needs to happen. But then the next Fallout, which is probably going to happen after, oh my goodness, I'm going to be like 40, man. When that game comes out, but that all to say. But Elder Scrolls 6, I think I could see it definitely. Everything's going to be timed, or about 90% of the titles, especially the big ones. The PlayStation fans are going to have to wait. So it sucks, but at the same time, like it's time Xbox gets a couple things on their side, and they need the games, man. Like you said, you need that reason to go back to Xbox.
Yeah, that's true.
Or to Game Pass, I guess.
Yeah. Corey, what do you think?
Well, honestly, man, it's tough because, again, like I agree with Nate, and I think there's going to be a lot of timed exclusive content, whether it's big titles or just whatever we see coming out of some of these developers as the time goes on with the next-gen console. But I think, again, they do need their, 4 or 5 big titles that PlayStation can't have, because they're still going to do it. They're not going to change the way they're doing things over there.
No.
So Microsoft needs to kind of get into that same mentality. I know, like you said, they play nice with everybody, which I believe they're going to continue to do from here on out. And like you said, they do try to play nice with Sony as much as they can and try to, help PlayStation out and work with them. But it just doesn't always work out that way. So I think Microsoft really does need those kind of 4 or 5 big hitting titles every time, and I just think that it needs to be their section of the pie, right? They don't need to share it with anybody. They just they need to keep it for themselves this time around.
No, that's fair. Adam, what do you think? Starfield, next Skyrim, exclusive?
Yeah, kind of like what Corey was saying. Like, if you get those exclusives out early, make sure everybody gets that Xbox Series X first, you know, and then you kind of trickle them out, maybe share it after that. Then, you know, you've already got people in your grasp, like they already have Game Pass right now, right?
Yeah.
You know, then you can be friendly after you've made all your money, but.
No, I think you're onto something. Honestly, I'm the opposite. I think Starfield will not be exclusive to the Xbox platform. I think they will allow it to branch out, and they'll branch out early. And then when you finally get to Skyrim, I think that's when they hold it back.
Okay.
Yeah. But I guess we'll see. That is still so far away. But we definitely want to hear what everybody else has to think about this huge, massive move by Xbox. By doing so, you can always hit us up on our Discord or at insidethegame.ca.
All right, Scotty, I think we shrunk ourselves. All right, Scott, so we got our hands on Metamorphosis on Steam, and this was a pretty cool first-person puzzle platformer, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids-esque style game, man. And truthfully, I actually really enjoyed it. What did you think of this game?
Yeah, my first impressions of this game were really interesting. I haven't seen this concept done quite before, and it reminded me kind of like a Bug's Life, the way some of the environments look. So I was definitely in to try this one, and I was not disappointed. Now, you mentioned puzzling. There is kind of some puzzling to it, but I found it was kind of really easy and somewhat basic because you're limited to a few different ways you can interact with the world. You just have this ability to walk on like a dial or something in place, and then you get like this sticky stuff on your feet that lets you climb up walls. That was really cool. What did you think of how this game looked?
Oh, the look of the game, man, is really cool. The setting that they go for, and you know, this playing from a perspective when you feel so small in this very big world, it is really cool, man. They kind of have some realistic settings where you're traversing through a room or a house, and then you're in another setting where you're in like a supernatural kind of world. So they kind of throw you all over the place, and all in all, it looked pretty good, man.
Yeah, it's definitely got its own style to it, and it was really cool to see like the progression that hits you really quickly on in the game of turning into a bug. Like you shrink very rapidly, and then the world is just a little different, and then the bugs have a weird, crazy voice they speak to you in. It was that was really cool. I really enjoyed the way the game set up the aesthetic to support it.
Yeah, because basically the game starts you off where you kind of wake up and you're like, oh man, that was a great night last night. I gotta go find my buddy Joseph. And then, you know, you're kind of walking through the house and you're like, man, why does everyone look weird? And then before you know it, you turn into a bug. And then you find out there's a way to be turned back into a human. So the whole premise of the game is you going to the tower, I guess it's called. That's what they call it. And anyways, apparently they have this remedy to become human. And not the whole experience, but part of the experience is leading up towards that.
In addition to the aesthetic of the game being really pleasing, it has this humor about it that's really, really funny. You follow your friend Joseph around, and you're trying to like get his attention at times. You interact with these people in hilarious ways, and a lot of the time you're just you're trying to find documents or something to push along his court case that seems to be kind of a sham. It's all really silly, and I love the way they incorporated it.
Yeah, man, it's kind of got this really funny British sense of humor along, you know. And the nice thing is too, they have some voice acting in it, so you're not, you know, you are reading documents, and when you're talking to bugs, you're sometimes or often reading. Mm-hmm. But there is a kind of a nice balance. It didn't feel overbearing.
Yeah, and it was definitely, we would have noticed a lack of voices, that's for sure. So it was definitely good that they included that. So man, a great thing too, this game feels really full. There's lots of
characters to interact with, and each of them kind of have their own little thing that they say, sometimes giving you hints towards your objective or leading you towards somebody else that'll give you a hint towards the next objective. Even like, man, they even had this kind of funny sense of humor where there's this kind of mafia thing going on. And there's actually like a city of bugs and these little, I don't know what you want to call them, townships or settlements, we'll say, of bugs. And it just really felt like it was real, you know?
Yeah, a really imaginative, fleshed out world. They made you feel like you were there was a purpose to moving through, and there was an actual reason to interact with all these different creatures. It was really great.
So another thing that I thought they did pretty good, but not perfect, man, was the controls in the game. You know, you're often jumping from one area to the next, or sprinting, or climbing up areas on kind of weird angles. And I thought they did a pretty good job. It's, like I said, not perfect, because sometimes when you're upside down, you kind of get a little bit tipsy-turvy and confused. But all in all, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, they really nailed that aspect as well. But if we're going to wrap this up and put a score on this game, Nate, what did you think of this one?
Well, man, this one struck home with me. I really liked it. The story was hilarious. It really kind of kept me pushing forward to try to become a human again. And, you know, the whole Honey, I Shrunk the Kids style, along with the not too complicated of puzzles. Man, this one gets an 8.5 from me, bro. Loved it.
Nice. Yeah, I really agree with a lot of those. It was a fun game that pulls you in an enticing world, and it makes you feel like a part of it for a little while. I'm up there with an 8. Fun puzzles, awesome world design, and a great premise. We had a great time being a bug.
Well, that'll wrap up this week's episode. It was a jam-full episode of lots of discussions and reviews, of course, and an awesome interview with Will talking about NHL 21. Now, again, if you want to be a part of the show, all you have to do is go to our Discord or insidethegame.ca, where there you can submit your clip and end off our show, just like CptAwesome did. Well, sometimes you just can't stay on the ground. Here he is.
It's just the same thing. Yikes. I'll let you have that one. See, if I'm going to use the jab, I got to stay at range more. That's what I'm not doing. Okay, so we have to play with these balls up here, eh? We ain't getting there. We got to play with these balls. Which way are we trying to go? Hopefully not that way. Oh, okay. I gotta run once I get past it. That's a lot further than I thought it was going to be. Run. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Well, that is about par for the course.